Hello, I'm Scott Horst, and I'm a member of the Adult Services staff here at Muskingum County Library System's main library, John McIntyre Library. Today I'm going to be showing you a little bit about ProQuest African American Heritage Database. For those who are with where to find it, go to our main page of the library's website, muskingumlibrary.org, like I have on the screen here. Go to the research heading, and if you hover over it, you'll see underneath research databases, and then click on the research databases heading. From there, you'll be into our research databases, and we have featured ones at the top. And fortunately for us, one of the first ones you come to is the ProQuest African American Heritage Database. Just click on that, and that will get you into there. It's a database offered by MCLS and ProQuest to assist you in doing African American genealogy. African American genealogy records can be quite scarce, but this gives you another option in your search. The home page lists menu options for you. If you see along the top, just a general search function and a browse function. Publications, community. What we're looking at today will be searching collections. I'm going to click on the Afrogenius community. It's a new resource that ProQuest offers. It allows you to contact a social networking group devoted to African American genealogy for assistance. If we click on that, and there you see some of the options available to you. You can search the recent posts, surnames, data. It'll give you tips on a family reunion, marriage data, death data, and a beginner's guide if you really need help on getting started in African American genealogy. Let's head back a step into the main headings again. And there's also Black Genesis, a state-by-state resource guide. We won't be looking at that today. It's not geared to Ohio specifically. It is geared more to southern states, but it is a resource available to you if you wish to pursue that. And we will get started by looking at one of the, we'll consult the references and how-tos at the end. There will be something I will show you on doing a search that way. So let's get started searching the collections. And you see where you have your place to click for a search. And you can do a specific search: birth, marriage, or death, federal census, Freemans Bank, military search, or slaves and free persons of color. Let's try going to federal census and just see if we can find a particular person that I previously designated. Once we click on the federal census information, we're going to do a search looking at a historic name of the African American community in Zanesville, the last name of Chandler. And there you see I put it in, and we're going to do a first name of William. And I'm going to just click on that without designating. You can designate a census here or a state, but I'm just going to do a general broad search and see what happens. And there you see I pulled up a number of census records. If you'll notice, it ends at 1930. The 1940 census has just in the last year become available, and it's pretty big, and they'll take it in probably a couple of years to digest it and work it into their database on that. Why is it so far back and not recent? There's a federal law that requires 72 years after a census is taken before the actual names in it become public. You may watch the news and see that they give summaries of census data, and that is allowed. But individual names, like if you were in the 2020 census and recorded your name, it will be kept private for 72 years. There's a federal statute on that. So we're going to look, let's look at the 1870 census. There's 20 records there, a lot to work off of. So let's take a look. And one of the first ones we pull up there is in Washington, D.C., and it's a William Chandler, who's only 29 years of age on that. And he has a birthplace of Virginia. That will become important later when we do the search at the end that I told you about, searching references and resources on that. So let's go ahead and click on William and see if we can find him. Nothing happens. So what do we need to do? You need to click on the box. And there, the search does commence from there. And there they list it. And they list the actual census data page. If you do work in genealogy, you will have to learn to be able to decipher handwriting in census rolls. Some people wrote legibly, some less so. And it will be a challenge, but it's something for you to work on that. So let's go down the page here. And if you notice, the closest thing to a Chandler I come to is a Canfield. Chandler's not on this page. Let's take you back up to the top and show you what you'll need to do. If you notice over here, it says a subpage A and subpage B. Census roll pages are usually numbered 2 pages at a time, so that both sides of a page will have the same number on that. So by looking at this, we found that subpage A didn't have what we were looking for. So let's click on the subpage B heading. And there it pulls up. Let's go down the page and see what we can find. Hopefully, William is in here. And though it may be rather difficult to read, clear down here on line 31 is William Chandler, and listing his age 29. We knew that already, and that he's African American, or in this indicator, he is considered black on that. He is a laborer, and he's from Virginia. He has a wife, Fanny, 24, who is keeping house. And they have a small child, Mary, who is 1 year old. And so that gives you information there. He lives in a particular section of Washington, D.C., not knowing 1WD, what that means exactly. I'm going to assume that it is the downtown area. Historically, in the past, there was a large African American community in rather close proximity to the major buildings of Washington, D.C., such as the Capitol, White House, and that sort of thing. So I'm going to guess that he lived in rather close proximity. So let's try and see if we can find him in the 1880 census. Knowing what we're looking for now, there's a lot of states there, and there's a William. There's 2 Williams, actually, that are listed for Washington, D.C. One's listed for Georgetown, and if you look at his age, he would not fit the William Chandler that we found already. The William Chandler we're looking at is going to be the older one, that's 37. And again, another indicator was place of birth, and that is Virginia. And so that is who we are looking for. So again, click on the box, we'll click on his name. And this has a subpage A and B as well, so we'll just have to scan the page and see if we can find. And fortunately for us, he is on subpage A. There he is on line 30. There is William, and he's still a laborer. And there's a 6 clear down here. I didn't pay attention. Let's see what the information is on that. He says number of months that he's worked in the past year. and he has worked for 6 months. So that's what the information is on there. And there's Fanny again, the wife designated and keeping house still. And then there's Mary, who is now 11 years old, listed as a daughter and at school. And there's also 2 other children that have appeared from the preceding census that were not listed at all. John, who is 8, and he's listed as son and at school. And they have a young daughter, Mildred, who's only 1, listed there. So there, if you were searching for William, you'd found him in 2 census records in preceding decades, and that would help you in trying to track down where he was. They don't designate what section of Washington, District of Columbia he is in, so we don't know that for certain, but you probably would be able to consult plat maps or something to try to find his location. So we found him through there. Let's try another record to see if we can find William. Let's go to the Freemans Bank because that has a lot of information. Some people may not know what the Freemans Bank is about. Allow me to give you a little sidebar of information about it. It was created in 1865 by Congress. They realized that the slaves that were being freed were probably destitute or had very little money and would have no place to put it. So they created a bank specifically for that purpose, and it was signed, the bill was signed by Congress passed the legislation, in 1865, and President Abraham Lincoln signed it. It was probably one of his last bills that he signed. He was assassinated the following month after the Freemans Bank was created. So you can go in there and try searching. Yeah. So let's go ahead and put in William. We don't know an application year, but we do know probably being in Washington, D.C. So we will put Washington, D.C. as the bank location and click. We found nothing. What does that tell us? Probably that William had no money to put in the Freemans Bank to begin with on that. That may have been a silver lining for him. Freemans Bank had a sad ending. The board of the bank invested in things that were not financially solvent, and then in 1873 was a bank panic. It actually was one of the worst ones to hit the United States prior to the Great Depression of the 1930s. The Freemans Bank had to close in 1874, and everybody lost their savings that was in there. It had a profound effect on the African American community. A lot of them had no further use for banks after that point, after losing so much money through that. But that doesn't help us with William on that. But I wanted you to see a Freedman's record, so we're going to use another name. Instead of William, we're going to try a Robert Barnett. And we're not going to put Washington, D.C., and we're not going to put an application here because we don't know that. So let's try Robert. His family has been in the African American community here in this area for a long time. So let's take a look. And there is a Robert Barnett in Huntsville, Alabama, 1869. So let's try his record and just see what happens. And there you have what an actual Freedman's Bank application looks like. In case you can't read the writing very well, if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, you can have a digest of what the information's about. Robert applied in January 29, 1869 in Huntsville, Alabama. He worked for a plantation of Widow Barnett, so he took their name. It gives his racial features, black, and his parents, Isaac and Dinea, or Dinea, and he's married to a Prudence Barnett. And he has a son, William. He did not serve in the Civil War. That's been crossed out. And he was born in Brunswick County, Virginia. So he's traveled a distance, moving from Virginia to Alabama. Farmer is an occupation, a familiar occupation. In fact, one of the few that African Americans could have in the post-Civil War Reconstruction era. And has an extensive remarks down here. Let's see if they did not digest them. They maybe couldn't read all of them either, but it does list. He has a brother, a William Cordell, a sister Betsy, Lucy, Phyllis, and I cannot read that last name, unfortunately. All my sisters are in Virginia, he tells. And his brother was living in Nashville, Tennessee, when last heard from. So we see that his family has moved a good bit on that. But there gives you an example of what a Freedmen Bureau record looks like. But they chose not to notate them remarks on there. We could read some of them, but not all of them. So that gives you an example of what one looks like. And I thought it important for you to see that if you're doing African American research, it's helpful to see what an actual record looks like. So I had also told you that we were going to try looking for William somewhere else. And so let's back all the way out to our front page. And there you see we can consult a reference or how-to or a publications. We can do either way to try to search for William. Let's click on the publications since it's up here. And there we have his name. And we will just search in the publications to see if we can find him. Sometimes you have to use educated guesses. We've pulled up two that are citing William Chandler. The Lawrence, Newberry County, South Carolina, the dates don't work for us. And so if there is a William Chandler in there, it's not likely the William Chandler we're looking for or of his family. But there we have a Free African Americans of North Carolina, Virginia, and South Carolina that was published in 2007. And since it's got Virginia in there, and if you remember from the previous records we searched of William, he was born in Virginia. So let's click on that one. And it gives lists of family names, that sort of thing. And there are 6 in the family histories. If you look here, 6 hits, what they call. So let's go to the first search hit and see what happens. And here we found a William Chandler. He was at a court appearance in May of 1765. Probably not who we're looking for. And there's not a mention here of anybody else that looks close on that, but it is possible on that. And if you wanted to go farther, you can go down here and there's hit and click on the next one. And it mentions William Chandler there. Someone vouching for him in a bond security on that. We'll click again and see. And William Chandler, bondsman, again on that. Looking at these, it doesn't look likely, unless the Chandlers on the first page were possibilities on that. And that's our last hit. So we would have work in front of us, but we have a possible William that was in the 1700s in Virginia. And then we would have to try to track down what locality in Virginia that William was born in, the one that we've located in Washington, D.C. So you see what some of the things that you can do with this resource. As you will find out, African American genealogy is a rather difficult thing to take on, but you do have resources available to you. So we hope that this was helpful to you today. As always, if you have questions, contact us at Muskingum County Library. At the reference desk, Adult Services, our phone number is 740-453-0391, extension 116 or 132. Thank you very much for your time today, and I hope that you have some success in your queries going forward. Thank you.